All right, welcome to the Coffee Chat podcast, where we focus on helping out small businesses and just being support of all the things we've learned in the past 6 years. And we don't have it all figured out, but what we have figured out, we want to go out and help other people and share it to them. And today, for our next guest, we have somebody who has 15 years of corporate background. He's our business advisor. He's a professor at GCU. Go Lopes. Woo woo. Class of 2018. We did it before the pandemic. So he teaches strategy, management, and entrepreneurship. His mission is to leave a legacy of excellence. This guy is a busy man. Welcome to the podcast, Eduardo Borquez.
Hey, thank you so much, Aaron, for having me.
Yeah, we're happy to help you. I know you're a busy guy, so thank you for accepting this. Like I said, he's our advisor here at Colados, and when I met him, I did not like him at first. I think my parents met you first in GCU, and they told me, we found somebody who can help us and get organized. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Let's meet the guy. And when we met, I don't know if you remember, you're like, so what's the mission for Colados? And I was all inspired, and I had this phrase that I have taken me a long time to think of, and I was like, I think the phrase was to give something that can be bought or something like that, which was like give the best service. You're like, no, that's not attainable. Like, that's a bad mission. I was like, no, get out of here.
It wasn't quite like that, but
that's how I saw it.
That was your perception.
Yes. And ever since then, you really helped Colados get organized, put us in the right track, and you've done a lot. But you're a professor at GCU. What made you become a teacher to teach other people? Like, what inspired you to be a teacher?
Sure, absolutely. You know what? It's funny that you mentioned that you start with just wanting to give it your all, right?
Yeah.
And you want to go ahead and make a difference. And really, that's what it is. That legacy of building that legacy of excellence. For Colados is to make your day, and you go all above and beyond to make that happen. For me, it was just that. I mean, I made a lot of mistakes in my corporate career and certainly had my ups and downs, but I wanted to just give back, and I knew that I couldn't open my checkbook and write a check, right? And people think that the only way to give is, financially. And I thought, well, what else can I do? And I just thought, why don't I just share my story, share my success, my best practices. And I knew that I wanted to be able to make a difference. And I may not be able to do it, or maybe I can do it to some degree, but if I teach others, then I automatically kind of just, multiply that, right?
Yeah.
So I started teaching in Mexico, and I fell in love with it. I knew that was God's calling for me, and trying to make that transition from corporate to being a teacher and just pour into new generations, pour into their lives personally, professionally, academically, spiritually, if given the opportunity. And now I can translate that into what I do in my consulting, right?
You do a great job, especially how you said professionally. Anytime I have a question on, like, how can I make this official?
Mm-hmm.
I send it by you, and you always, make everything sound better and smarter. And you have a great word, a way of talking to people. When he speaks, when he comes into the shop, he doesn't know this, but you see him pulling in, everybody starts running. They're like, get ready, go fix your hair, because there's a lot of those in, because this guy has authority. Like, he knows what he has, and that's something that is good. I like that, and I'm learning from that as well, to have that, to go up to people, and that's probably one of the things that I lack of, maybe confront, or not confront, but just go up to them and correct, which could be another topic we can speak in the future. But before we move on, what is your go-to drink at Colados?
Oh, my God. All right.
I know it's changed, but what's your go-to drink?
Well, my to-go drink for the longest has been hot hazelnut latte.
Okay.
But lately, this last maybe week, is the green smoothie.
Okay.
I'm trying to lose some weight. I'm trying to eat healthy, be a little bit, fit and feel good about, me, I guess. Sometimes it's not just, what you're saying and what you're doing, but just that you feel energized and whatnot. So the green smoothie has been my best friend lately.
Especially with this pandemic.
Oh my God, yes.
I think we all need a little bit of more healthiness now that we're coming back into the rhythm.
Aaron, that's a whole different podcast, man.
Yeah.
I
being at home,
I gained so much weight. Isn't that funny?
Same.
So I'm running. I'm trying to do. The other day I took the stairs. Just because,
Yeah.
because I have to. I have to.
And it
So
feels good. Went on a run last night as well, and
good.
you just feel alive. So
Awesome.
that's good.
I want to go back. First of all, thank you so much for your comments when you say, when I'm arriving, people are kind of just, oh my God, Eduardo's here. I think it's all about respect.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that I will probably, recommend to anyone, whether you're a small business owner or whether you're working for a company. I mean, it's all about respect. If people respect you, people will actually join you and get things done. You know, if, for instance, an employee, if they're putting their hat, their name tag, they're not doing it because you're going to come in and say, I'm going to get in trouble. It's just that they respect you enough that they want to make sure that they're adhering to what you expect from them. And I think that builds your confidence. And you've done a really good job. I've been with you for the last 3 years, and I've seen you grow professionally. So, don't be too hard on yourself. You're heading in the right direction.
But how do you get that respect? Because sometimes it's like, it's, even if you have the position, or even if you're the boss or whatever it is. But like, how do you get that respect from people without, like, what goes in my mind is like, what if they're gonna think bad of me? What if they're not gonna like me? How can you get the respect but still be the friendly, nice guy that you are?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is don't go in with the perceived notion, right? Just right now you said, okay, what if they don't like me? You're already thinking of something that has not happened, right? You haven't given the opportunity to occur. And even if that is the case, then you have an opportunity to change that. The best thing that you could do is just be yourself. People like to, relate with people with who they are, not who they want to pretend to be, right? And I think that's really important. When you have that essence of being you, regardless of position, then you end up making the position, and the position doesn't make you.
Wow.
And individuals want to do that. It's so easy for us to say these are my employees. Let's be honest, they're not our employees. They're someone's son and daughter. There's families, allow them to come to work with us. They are borrowed individuals, and our job is to make sure that when they go home better than when they arrive. So when you interact with them and you treat them as who they are, other individuals, they will listen.
Wow.
But if you talk down at them, they will only hear you.
Wow, man, this is like therapy. This is how we have our conversations. Right?
I know, right?
Talking about like problems, and we find solutions. So this is also something good that we have going on. And I want to talk a little bit about organization, which is kind of what you did to us, or what you did when you walked into Colados. And I know starting a business can be very disorganizing. There's a lot of things moving. How can a business get organized, whether they're starting off or they've been in business for 20 years? What's your advice on that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think first of all, organized is just making sure, let's define that first, right? Mm-hmm. And this is my perspective. Being organized is just knowing what you have and where you're going to place it. Sure. So if you look at many aspects of business, we can get very technical and use, marketing, operations, finance, but let's just kind of bring it down and just be very basic, right? What is it that you do? And what is it that you don't do? Those are the two basic questions that anyone should ask any business, and that's where organization starts. We always think about organization as far as how we're going to organize our finances, how we're going to organize our marketing, our social media, even how we're going to organize our, our inventory, right? Or our schedule, because a schedule for an employee, that's an organization. You organize of when people need to show up, when they need to leave, what days. However, if you don't know what your business does and what your business should not do, then it really doesn't matter what you're organizing, because you're actually only organizing something that is unclear. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I see it, like I see your calendar. You have like, I think you probably even like schedule when you're going to use the restroom, because everything's filled up. I'm like, when do you rest? Because you got a lot of school and everything that you do. So I see that organization, and I think it's something that I need to work on as well. Plan.
But you prioritize, Aaron. There's a big difference between what's important and what is urgent. Okay? If everything is urgent, that is a sign that something is not organized.
Good.
Everything that is urgent and you're always kind of just on the flow and everything needs to get done right now by you, then we need to work on something, right? Either you don't trust the people that you have, or you have a control problem, meaning that you have to have the last saying on everything, and that everything needs to get done right now. That eventually is gonna kind of have a toll on you. You're gonna become stressed. You're gonna become unhealthy. You're gonna get sick, and it's just not sustainable.
Yeah, and how do you do that? I know delegation is something so important, and that's where it comes down to, letting other people, giving power to other people. How do you do that as a business owner? Because, this is your baby, your business, you built it from the bottom up, and you work hard for it. You can't just give it to anybody, right? And then what happens if they mess up? They just leave. They don't do the right job. That's probably what a lot of business owners think of. This is, I can't grow, and that's what kind of starts happening. So how can we delegate as business owners or even leaders?
Yeah, another great question. Delegation is easier said than done, and I will tell you the secret to good delegation: trust. See, when we go out there and we hire employees, we made a decision based on their skill set, their experience, and then we align it to what we expect for them to do. If we know that they have the skill set, the experience, they're able and they're willing to get the job done, then it makes a perfect fit. However, just because they have experience and just because they are a good fit doesn't mean that you're ready to delegate. The only way that you can delegate is by building trust. And in order to gain trust, you have to get to know them. You've got to build relationships. Because if they are only the name on the name tag and only a schedule 4 or 5 times a week, you will never get to the delegation part. Because you only delegate when you trust someone to do the job the way you want it to do. So get to know your people.
That's good, and that's so true. I remember, the first couple of vacations that our family took, we're like, oh no, what's gonna happen? What if, the whole shop burns down and we come back and nothing's here? You start thinking of these things. And my dad was like, you know what? They got this. They'll figure it out. And when we're on vacation, we don't call. We're like, we don't even contact unless it's like just, if we're on a long vacation or whatever it is. But my dad's like, they'll figure it out. And we come back and we see like brand new leaders. We find like something that we didn't even know they had in themselves. So that's where the trust comes in. When you trust them to do what they want, sometimes we're not letting them grow because we're always on top of them. We're not letting them, find the true potential. And we've seen a lot of people that we've come to trust. And something that helps that you also started when you came in is building a system, a policy and procedure that also they can base on. Rather than like, oh, I told you to do this, but there was no system to base it on. How can a business build that policy and procedure or system so they can open more locations and duplicate what they have?
Yeah, it goes back to what the earlier question, right? How do you get organized? Well, know what you do. And also, more importantly, know what you do not do. Just because I have ice and I have syrups and my business is raspados doesn't mean that I can create other products with the same ingredients. I mean, you can, but just because you can doesn't mean that you should, right? You have to find an identity of who you are as a business and stick with that. And so if you get organized, then you can start developing, okay, how am I going to do what I do and what I want to be known for consistently, time and time again? And that's making sure that you have procedure, steps on how to do maybe that raspado, right? Or if you have a service, if maybe you're providing consulting, how do you start the consulting? How do you end the consulting? Or if you're teaching, tutoring, it does not matter. Everything has to have a process. In fact, everything we do is a process, is a system, right? I mean, I'm telling you, we get up every morning and you have a routine. You develop a behaviors, right? There are some things that you just do every single time, and that makes you feel that you're off to a good start. Well, you make those decisions for the business. So if you have, for instance, a policy and letting employees know what they need to do, what they shouldn't do, procedures on how to get things done, you're setting them up for success. And you have one way of doing things and not 15 different variations, which then, I mean, could really impact customers. And I don't know if you've ever been in a position, or maybe you made this as a customer, said, oh, I like this place. You know what? Go when Aaron is working because he'll take care of you. That's an example of maybe not having good systems in place, because it shouldn't matter if Aaron's there or not. You should be able to go whenever you want and get the same type of service.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some people that I have favorites. They're like, I want this person to make it. Or like, it's the same thing.
I
But
know.
I guess that's
But
up to
that's
people.
different, right? That's
Yeah.
different. Maybe that's the
We have
relationship.
preferences.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and how important is having an advisor in a business? Is it something that you should have? Is it not for everybody? I've heard two sides of the story. You know, I follow this guy on YouTube. He's like, I don't need to listen to like motivational um, podcasts or have advisors. I know what I'm doing, and that's what helps me.
Hmm.
Should every business have an advisor?
Great question. And the answer is no. In fact, if there is nothing to advise,
Mm.
then you don't need an advisor. So, for instance, um, when I came in 3 years ago, my role is to be a business advisor. However, there was nothing to advise on because there was no systems in place. There
You're a
was
hot
no
mess.
procedures. You said it. You said it.
Not anymore, though.
Not anymore. So what happens is that initially, what ended up doing is that you just needed a coach. In fact, you needed a teacher. You needed to learn. A good advisor will not advise if there's nothing to not advise. It is important if here's the advisor based on knowledge and experience and here's the business, it is our job to meet you where you're at and bring you up to where you want to be. And most of the time is just being side by side and coaching you, teaching you. In fact, first is teaching you how to do things, then we coach you. And once you have systems, process in place, right, then we can go into advice. Because advice is telling you how you can do things differently to improve based on something that is organized. But if it's not organized, then are you really advising?
Yeah. And once you start the procedures and the system, you have that all down. Um, is it going to run by itself, or do you have to? I know the phrase that you use that stick to me is inspect what you expect.
Absolutely.
So is it just building a system and then letting it by itself, or does there have to be like a accountability?
No, there has to be accountability, responsibility, and you have to constantly be monitoring it. If you just build it and you let it sit and you don't use it, what's going to happen is going to be abandoned, right? Out of mind, out of sight, people won't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So you spend all that time and all that effort and including money, and suddenly you made it important, but the moment you no longer bring it to life, right, then that's it. It will just be there and one day be gone. However, you need to always continually update it. And we do that as individuals. Why do we go to school? Why do we pick up a sport? Why do we exercise, right? Why do we want to eat healthy? Why do we choose where to travel? Because we have a motive, right, to do things. And here's a big kicker. There's a big difference between being motivated
Mm-hmm.
and being committed.
Wow.
Motivation will get you things organized, will get you things running, right? But commitment will make sure that you're always constantly evolving, changing, updating, because you will never know when things are going to go, unexpectedly, like COVID in this case, right?
Yep.
So, in an example I can give you of companies that were so in their comfort zone and build it, let it sit there, and we're not updating are no longer here, like Blockbuster,
Mm-hmm.
right? So don't be another statistics. If not, try not to be too comfort or comfortable, right, in what you build, because eventually you're going to outgrow it.
That's good. I like how you said about the commitment part, other than motivation. Because sometimes you are inspired. You're like, yeah, let's go, and sometimes it will come down. So you can't depend on that. And I just saw this quote yesterday by Pablo Picasso. It said, "Inspiration exists, but it has to find you working."
Oh yeah.
And
That's awesome.
I work at the shop. I'm on schedule for one day out of the week, and my sister's like, what, you want me to take you off so you can focus on other things? They're like, no. I'm like, I have to work. I want to be in there grinding and finding things that we can improve on, and maybe this is where I get the ideas. But I've been on this phrase. I don't know what you think about this, but that it helps me to do things right, and it's that how you do one thing reflects how you do everything. And I've been really chewing on this. It just popped out. I'm like, wow, like this is so true. And it's not about perfection. It's about progress, right?
Mm-hmm.
How you do one thing. If I, we put up a sign and it's all, crooked and it's not the best, what does that say about how you have your kitchen in the back?
Yeah.
How they say, you want to see how good a kitchen is, go into a restroom and see how clean it is. That's not always the case, but it's talking about, you got to do things the right way. And if you're going to be organized, do it all across, and that's going to help you out. But what do you think about that phrase?
No, I think is what do I think? I think spot on. My challenge to you, and it's not too much of a challenge to you because I've known you for 3 years now. But to anyone listening and watching, is part of trying to create change, right? Is identifying, what do we want to do, like that phrase, right? Can you repeat that again?
How you do one thing reflects how you do everything.
Okay, how you do one thing reflects everything that you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Great, but if you don't do it, then it has zero value.
Exactly.
So you got to put action behind it, right? So that is really important. We can sit down, we can plan, we can, come up with all the great ideas, but at one point you got to stop planning, right? Before was developing a 3-year business plan, a 5-year business plan, a strategy. Strategies every day, every hour, every week, right? Every month. We always have to be constantly changing. We have to constantly be evolving. So the one thing that you do that is going to impact everything else that you do could not be more present than today. But if you just leave it there, it's like me saying, hey, let's go out golfing. And you're like, okay, great. And I never give you a time, a date. Did I really mean what I wanted to do?
Have an impeccable word, right? From the 4 agreements.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It is more impactful that I say, no, I cannot go because I gave you a resolution, than for me to just go and keep you waiting and say, hey, yeah, let's get together. How many times have you heard something? Yeah, let's get together. And you never get together, right? We got to stop saying things that we have the motive to do it or the motivation to do it, but there's no commitment, therefore you never do it. So I challenge you, me, everyone, to instead of having 5 things that motivate us, take one thing that motivates it and put action behind it and be committed to actually get it done.
Wow. Just spitting bars right now, man. This is good. And that's so true. Starting this podcast, even for me, I've had the equipment for like weeks, and I'm like, I'm going to start it. But, it was a fear. And recently starting reading a book on marketing, and it says it's better to be first than to be better. Mm-hmm. And like, who remembers the second president? Most likely they're going to remember the first. But the second person, people might not always remember. Who's the second person who flew a plane? A lot of people don't really talk about that. So sometimes it's better to just start than to be better, because you're going to grow through the process. You're going to get organized through the process. So if you're not an organized, business, don't think that it's over. There's always, like you said, a way to improve, no matter what stage you're at. So that's also really good to just get started, to find the motives that inspire you, like you said.
Aaron, and sorry to interrupt.
Oh, you're good.
There was this book, and I think it's relevant to what you just said. There's this book that I just finished reading. In fact, I just started reading it again for the second time. And, you know me, I'm always trying to figure out how I can be a better version of myself. And this book talks about 4, kind of commitments. We talk about motivation versus commitment. And one of the first one is being committed to choose the words that you use. Words are powerful.
Is it the 4 agreements, or is it?
Yeah, it's 4 agreements. Okay. Yeah, and the way I said is these are agreements. However, I wanted to make it my own, because if I agree to do something, I'm human and I might not follow through. Yeah. But if I'm committed, like I said, now I feel a sense of accountability, right? So I know you mentioned one of them earlier, but let's kind of put them all in perspective, right? And I'm not trying to sell the book or anything. It helped me, and I want to share it with others, right? Being committed to choose your words. If we always say that if you have nothing good to say, don't say it, right? I want to challenge all of us to kind of do a little bit different, right? Instead of, if you don't have nothing good to say, don't say it. If you have something good to say and constructive, say it. Yeah. Because the moment you stay quiet, then you're actually taking away, you're robbing the opportunity for someone else to be better at what they do, right? So be courageous and choose your words, right? Second, don't take things personal. So if people mock you or tell you whatnot, that is their perspective, respect it, and go about your day. Because you should not use your energy to try to make everyone happy. just try to make sure that decisions that you make, the words that you use, the actions, everything you do, that you're happy and you're content at the end of the day. And then don't conclude anything, right? Don't make conclusions. So earlier on, we were just talking about how we're saying something and maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves. It's okay to think about the possibilities of what things could happen. The reality is that has not happened. So don't get all caught up on that. And then the final one is do everything with excellence. Do everything, and don't never ever ever compare your excellence with anyone else, right? You are in your own race, okay? Everyone is in their own race. It's not about finishing, first, second, and third, and it's about just making sure that you just finish your race, which is your life. So everything you do it with excellence, and don't compare it to someone else, and just be proud of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, that's our signature. Excellence is our signature. When people see something you do, it's like, oh, that's Eduardo. That's what he stands for. So it's very important to do your best, because excellence is always going to pay itself.
I agree with that.
The more you put in, the best quality you give, people will come back. People will continue to talk about you. So it's something that very crucial to always give your best, like you said, and don't compare it. Your best is not going to be other people's best, but as long as you tried and you gave it your all, then that's what counts.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because at the end, we're all in this together, right? Mm-hmm. The power of many will always surpass the effort of one, right? So we all have a lot of the same similarities, and unfortunately societies allows us to make divisions, right? However, we're one, and I think the more that we love each other, the more that we care about each other, maybe you don't change the world, but you did impact it because you made a difference in you and the people surround you. This acronym I have about love, I always say love each other, love your neighbor, love this. And many people would say, man, I'm not going to go up to a stranger and say, hey, I love you. And you're going to say, what? But if we really think about it, if we use that acronym of love, right, and this is my spin to it, how do we love people even if we don't know them? Well, listen to them, observe them, value them, and be empathetic. Without you knowing them and them knowing you, but if you take the time to do that, you're loving them. But just remember to love yourself. Listen to you, observe your behaviors, value yourself, and don't be too hard on yourself.
Dang, that sounds like a book. You gotta start sharing that to everybody.
Teaser. I am working on a book. It will come. It's more of an autobiography, and it revolves around these 4 words about love and what love is and what love is not. And I talk about my life, and I talk about what God has done in my life and how I've been able to get to the point of living that legacy of excellence. But more to come on that. More to come on that.
And thank you for coming and spending your time here. I value your input on everything. You have a lot of credibility. So you're somebody that I get inspired, and every time I listen to you, I'm always taking notes when you come and you're talking, because you just have a way to say things and do things. So really appreciate you for being here. Is there anything else you want to add on what we just talked about, organization, or just business in general for leaders?
No, I mean, I think you got to start with yourself. If I had some closing comments, is that no one knows you better than anyone else, right? So everything that we've discussed today, if you can apply it to you, how do you get, like I said, a business needs to figure out what they do and what they don't. Do that for yourself. What do I do? What do I stand for? What do I do not do? How can I get organized? How can I delegate things? Is everything I do always urgent, right? And so if you start with yourself, because you know that for all your years, then you can transfer that into your business, because at the end, the business is a reflection of who you are, your behaviors, your leadership, and things will fall in place. And if you really need help and support, there's a lot of great organizations out there. I would say go online and check out the internet and use the keyword free and whatever that you need, and do that. And if you truly get to the point that you need an advisor, I'll be more than glad. People can go to my website, eduardoborquez.com, more information on that. And I'm here to serve, right? I'm here to serve. And congratulations to you, Aaron, I've seen you grow, and I said that earlier today. But congratulations to the success of Colados. Early on in the beginning of the podcast, you gave me credit for a lot of what Colados is at, organized and all that. And I just want to give the credit back to you and your family. See, God has only used me to be here and guide, but it's been your and your family's action to actually decide to do that. So I'm glad to be part of the ride, and just thank you so much for the opportunity to serve as your consultant.
Thank you, Eduardo. I really appreciate that and everything you've poured out into Colados.
Yeah.
It's really helped, the shop and me personally. So thank you so much. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions, let us know. Any way, direct message, email, info@Colados, and we'll be happy to answer. Also, I want to give a shout out to Victor for helping us record and, for allowing us to send this out to wherever we have to send it. So thank you, Victor. That's it for us. We'll see you next week.